live. We're recording an emergency podcast right now, Saturday, April 26th. Chase, Canard Davis, Southern Illinois shooting guard, was in the portal, has committed to BYU. It seems like BYU finally has their fifth starter. I don't know who that fifth starter may be between him, Diamande, maybe somebody else, Dawson Baker. It feels like they only have one more piece to grab in the portal, which is a backup point guard. We'll get to that a little bit later. But Canard Davis, Southern Illinois transfer, has committed to BYU. Initial thoughts?
Yeah, I like the fit for BYU. I think, like we talked about last episode, they're getting really picky and they're kind of just really searching for the right guy. And it's not a big splash, not one of these guys that we see in the portal that gets a lot of tweets out. And it's like, ooh, like this guy's in on BYU's in on this guy. It was pretty low key. It kind of showed up late. So they were doing their work kind of in the background, not being loud about it. And I think that they like what they saw in him. And so it's really BYU being picky and just getting the guy that they want. And so I trust the coaching staff at this point because they've been on a recruiting tear and they figured it out. Shout out our guy Justin Young, friend of the show. And I think he really liked what he saw in this guy. So if you're BYU, your offense is looking like one of the legitimately best offenses in college basketball. Between all the guys you brought in and all the guys returning, it's going to be downright elite. It's so much scoring on the floor for the Cougs.
That's the thing. It's just so many different options. I think this is a great play. I think a lot of people are going to go in to say this guy, okay, he's the automatic Mowat Mag replacement. And you watch the film, he offers a lot more on the offensive end than Mowat had, but defensively, he's not the same player as Mowat. He's not that bruiser type. I think he can guard, some players' best guards and whatnot, but Mowat was a different kind of player. And I think we talked about this off the air, but I think we might see a little offense-defense action at the end of games where Diamande maybe comes in for him, and we'll see how it plays out and whatnot. I think he could be a great defender. But the other thing is he seems like a great spot-up shooter, and I think it really spaces the floor well because that's what you need right now with this BYU roster because you look at the guys you brought in. Rob Wright. Rob Wright's best game is slashing and getting to the basket. Richie Saunders, yeah, he can knock down the three-point shot, but he can also drive hard with his right hand and get to the basket. And AJ needs the floor spaced out as much as possible for him to get into his bag and get into his best game. And then Keba Keita obviously isn't going to space the floor for you, so you couldn't bring in a guy that was going to clog things up, and this guy does not clog things up. He spaces the floor great. He's going to be a threat from beyond the arc, and you're going to have to guard him, and it stretches the floor, and that's exactly what they needed. And this is a guy who's going to come in and buy into his role. You know what? There's probably some games he might not start. He might not start right away. We might see Baker or someone else start immediately, but it doesn't matter. He seems like a guy that's going to buy into his role, and one of those just core pieces you need to make that deep run in March. You watch a team like Duke this year and say, hey, we got this random guard from Tulane. All right. His name was Sion James. Sion James was phenomenal for Duke this year. No, he's not getting all the headlines like Cooper Flagg and everything, but he's playing a very vital and important piece to that roster, and I think Canard Davis can come in and do that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We talked about it a lot. We need shooting around these guys, and he's an elite shooter. If you go watch his stuff, he does it in every single way. He spots up, he hits them in transition, and then he also can pull up off the dribble as a primary ball handler. He had a highest usage rate on Southern Illinois last year. Took a big jump between the 2 years, and last season was by far his best. And so seeing a guy that is confident with the ball and shooting it is a dream come true for BYU. That's been the gripe for years, and they're recruiting different guys now, obviously, and there's a different group of guys, so that might not quite be the problem anymore. But just having that confidence, that level of offensive IQ to go and do that is huge in late game situations or in any game situations. The thing that made BYU so good last year is how deep they were, how they could turn to so many different options. And those options are just getting more and more elite as we go along. So this upcoming season.
Yeah, and you look at the lineups they can throw at teams this year. What's going on over your apartment, Chase?
Dude, this guy is doing yard work right outside my window here.
Wasn't the missionaries? You have
some audio,
active, Chase? Yeah.
No, it was them. I just told him to shoot. Yeah. No, I'm just messing.
Yeah, it's like, hey, get out of here. But yeah, they the thing about they can throw so many different lineups at you. You obviously Rob Wright is going to be the anomaly on the floor, being a 6'1" guard, but everybody else on the floor, Richie Saunders 6'5", 6'6", Canard Davis 6'6". AJ Debansis 6'9", Diamande 6'8", 6'9". So they have all these great different lineups and sides they can throw at teams, and also usually you're not giving up shooting. That's the best part. Now, I don't think Davis is going to come in and be a guy that can create too much off the dribble one-on-one and stuff. He can't shoot off the dribble, but I don't think he can say, hey, go one-on-one and just go get me a bucket over this guy. I don't think that's necessarily his best game, and I think he's going to be playing spot-up shooter quite a bit on this team, which is okay, which I think he's going to thrive in that role. And I think NBA scouts are going to look at him and go, man, 6'6" guy, he can really shoot the lights out of the ball. He can accept a KCP-like role on this team. I think it's a great fit.
Yeah, I don't know if KCP is a great comp right now.
You know what I mean? No, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. I think
he might be Cooper Flagg.
He might be.
Is that what you want me to say?
And he also has the ability to get to the hoop. He's shown he shoots like 64% at the rim, so he's shown a capacity to not just be one dimensional. He has a pull up mid range in his game. I don't know if that's the shot BYU would ever like, but it's in there.
For some reason, Dawson Baker is the only player on this team that feels like they're allowed to take that shot.
And he's probably the only one I feel most comfortable. Maybe AJ now with this next team,
with AJ,
right? Which is fair. So I like the versatility. I think there's obviously like this guy isn't the second coming of Cooper Flagg. There's a lot of things I think he can improve on. I don't think his left hand's very strong. I think BYU got the 3, but they didn't necessarily get the D they were looking for. But so there's things that I think he can continue to develop. But the thing is, he's still young. I think he just turned 20, and so there's a lot for him to continue to work on and develop with this team as it goes along, and an elite coaching staff who's going to find guys and put them in the right spot. If you think about this last season, guys like Mawit Mag and Trey Stewart, who played such a vital role. The start of the season, Mawit Mag never even played. Like we had no idea he had this in him. And then the second half of the season, he was pivotal to BYU's success. And Trey Stewart, we had seen for 4 years, kind of wondering, if he was ever going to get a shot to even play at all. And he turned into a valuable asset. So I think if you're BYU's coaching staff, you see the stuff he already has, and then you see the potential, and they're going to continue to mold and work with him next season.
Yeah, and when you watch it on film, I don't want people to twist your words and be like, "Oh wait, so he can't play defense? He's just a spot-up shooter. He's gonna be Kyle Korver and just sit in the corner." No. Like, he's not a bad defender. We're just saying he's not that same bruiser and defender that you kind of needed to replace with Mawit Mag. But you also are bringing in so many different pieces, like AJ, who's going to be able to. We talked about this off air as well. Is at the end of games, I don't know if AJ will necessarily go against the other team's best wing player at times, just because you don't want to get a freshman into foul trouble and you want to use his energy on the right side of the ball. But at the end of games, last possession type stuff, 1 minute left, I think we see AJ play defense on a lot of teams' best players, because I think he can be that elite defender, and his size and ability to move. I think that's what we end up seeing. But I don't want to sit here and say Canard Davis is this awful defender or anything. But I think he's very solid, but I don't think he's elite.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope no one aggregates. Well, that's not what I meant. I just mean he's not perfect. Like, we got to be fair on this podcast. We're analyzing here. Those are the things we like about him. There's things that need to be better. So I think for the rest of the roster, Karter, I think you found that extra wing, and now it's the backup point guard. So we'll continue to monitor BYU's activity there in that capacity. But I like this pickup. I think we even kind of called it. We're like, look for someone on maybe a lower level team, someone who is a little bit under the radar, and that's exactly who they got. Someone that is ready to take the step up to some power 5, power 6 basketball, whatever you want to call it these days, and contribute to a team. And he can in a very real way to this BYU team. Do you think he starts right away, Karter?
I don't know. I really wouldn't be surprised if Dawson Baker did start like day one, and then they shake up the lineup. I really still think the non-conference is going to be a lot of, look, let's critique with this lineup a little bit, but not too much, because they also have a much tougher non-con this year, and I think that's going to benefit them in the long run, because Kevin Young's going to find those 9 dudes he really trusts to play in that rotation. I don't think they end up going 11 deep this year at times and whatnot. I don't think that's necessarily sustainable, but, I mean, maybe so. Maybe that's just the new age of basketball, and we're completely wrong, Chase. But I would lean towards no, but I would say 50-50, but like maybe 51-49 no.
Yeah, I mean, that's staying close. Yeah, we'll see. And they're still not done. You still never know. I think they have You gotta be kidding me, man.
You got the lawnmower going. We got the lawnmower going.
The trimmer going out. He's right outside.
Trimmer.
I mean, this is ridiculous. This is a pro show. Does he even know who we are? I think in the law, like BYU still has a couple of scholarships left, so we'll see. We just got. What are we doing?
Pro show. We're leaving this all in here.
This is a pro show. For those curious, Kennard Davis Jr. against a Big 12 opponent, they played Oklahoma State very beginning of the season. He played 37 of the 40 minutes. He shot 6 of 12 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. And I think he had 16, 5, and 5. He is a decent passer as well. He's had multiple double-digit game double-digit assist games, excuse me. And his best games, 24 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, 26, 10 assists, 23, 5, and 3, 24, 10, and 2. I mean, he's had some legit ball games. Again, the competition wasn't exactly there, but against somewhat, I know Oklahoma State was not a great team, but they are still, head and shoulders above most of these other schools in college basketball. Showed up. 16, 5, and 5 is a good line against that team.
I like that you brought up his passing, because I think that's another element to what this coaching staff and what they want to bring into this team, especially Kevin Young, is unselfishness. And that was a key thing in last year's team, is they got to bring in guys who are not going to be ball stoppers and will move the ball and will make the right play on offense and not just play this AAU my turn basketball. So I think that's a great point as well. For all the people listening as well, his stat line last season at Southern Illinois, 16.3 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and 45.5% from the field. You've already seen those stats a billion times on Twitter, so that's why I didn't want to repeat those at the top. So...
Yeah, decent amount of steals as well. Talking about the defense again, he's got a nose for the ball and passing lanes. So There's a plus right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And last thing, and then we'll wrap up here. Quick pod. Backup point guard. I think it might take a minute. I wouldn't rush. I don't think this is going to be a rush thing. I don't think it's going to be like, hey, a Boscovich in August type thing. But I think they're really taking their time on who they're going to go after in the portal and everything, and just be patient. It's not going to come out immediately, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was one that just dropped in out of the blue.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's international and also out of the blue. Most international guys are out of the blue because they're just not really on our radar. So they're going to get it done, though. I'd be so shocked if they didn't. The backup point guard is coming. That is the next acquisition. I would bet a lot of money.
I think that's it after that, though.
I mean, probably. I'm just saying there's technically room for more. I would guess that's the last move they make. I think they have the 9 guys who are going to play, but there's just technically room for more. We'll see.
I would the one thing is maybe I wouldn't hate getting a developmental big that doesn't play very many minutes, is there just in case of emergencies, but I don't think he would ever another big coming in would play, because Staten and Kaba and then Boscovich at small ball 5 is going to be a real thing there. So, but yeah, I don't see much more after that outside of Staten, Kaba, Boscovich, and then maybe a developmental big. But they've got a ton of wings on this team now, and then they just need another backup point guard. And those other spots, maybe they're filled in by a walk-ons or whoever.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you and I go to some tryouts.
Yeah, we'll go get our MBA.
Just grad students. Then this team's going to have length. They're going to be tall. They're going to be able to play. I mean, there's going to be lineups with AJ plays the 5, right? And they go quote unquote small ball with half the dudes over 6.5 feet tall, right? And they're going to be able to run it. So I'm so excited. The roster's really coming together. They're going after specific athletes who are athletic, who have a knack for scoring, and it's going to make for some real exciting basketball. If you thought, the offense towards the end of this last season was crazy, scoring over 90 almost every single game. Next season might be even more. It's going to be that good because all these guys are bucket getters, and they've done it at every level. And so it's going to be fun to watch. If you like offense, this is going to be the team for you.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I've gone back to this multiple times where I just don't think there is that top gap of college basketball or that top elite team that's like they are number one without question. My guess is Houston's the number one team, but I feel like you could argue 5-6 different teams to be the number one overall team in the country in the preseason polls. I'm sure there's going to be some outlets that even put BYU at 1 or 2 when it's all said and done, when the roster's finally constructed.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. Wouldn't be shocked at all. And
I wouldn't be shocked.
Crazy to think about. I say this every time, but it's just
yeah, it's gonna
nuts.
Hey, it's only April. We've got like 6 more months of podcasts to do until we get real games and stuff. So, but yeah,
we need some
I had to
drama.
do an emergency.
We need some drama with BYU basketball. Not like bad drama, but like
yeah. But then we had like the BYU Utah NIL stuff, and I didn't even like talking about that on our last episode.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
But
I thought about cutting it out, but
I'm sure the people loved it. It's a good place to be if you're BYU basketball. We're enjoying.
My last thing, and then we'll wrap up here. The number one thing that's also stood out to me was they had that Yegor press conference when he announced he's going to the NBA draft, and Kevin Young said he was like, "Look, we're taking our time. We're going to be very, very calculated in our moves." And I feel like every move they've made with Rob Wright, with Kennard Davis Jr., Canard Davis Jr., and certain guys staying, I feel like has just shown they're being really calculated about this, and they're patient, and they just know who they want. BYU's more when you're at the top of the top, especially with the resources they have and everything, you're not as much recruiting at this point.
Yeah, and it's a great place to be. And so BYU is going to select probably their last player.
Isn't that just an awesome job, though? Like, if you get to be a GM of a team where you're not necessarily dealing with salary cap implications, and you're just like, look, I like that guy. Let's bring him over.
Yeah.
Isn't that almost
sweet,
better than being
at BYU?
Like, isn't being like a college GM almost better than being a pro GM if you're at a school with a bunch of money?
Yeah, because there's no you don't have to report to anyone. There's no hoops to jump through. It's almost like the Wild West, and you kind of are, if you got the money, you got all the guns, and so you get to kind of call the shots, which is pretty sweet.
Would be the sickest job. You're not sitting here looking at CBA and oh wait, we can't trade that pick swap. Oh no, all this stupid stuff. But you're not sitting here being like, let's go get Shadur. And all of a sudden, the Browns have 5 quarterbacks. But BYU basketball show, not an NFL show.
Yeah, if you want to hear us talk about everything else, you can.
Go to Karter Cast. We did a long pod on all that stuff, and we'll be back once again later this week on NBA and NFL draft stuff. But anyhow, hit that subscribe button, Church Ball Pod on everything. Field of 68 Podcast Network on the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Check out some of the other team pods as well. At Chase_Roger0, at Karter B8, and at Church Ball Pod on everything. Once again, if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, leave a 5-star review and hit that follow subscribe button. And we will be back next week for regular scheduled programming.